my name is Simon and we are the Whales of Wall Street. Today we're going to be looking at Decentraland, or in the crypto world we would know this as MANA, M-A-N-A, and we'll go through what those two are and how they link together. So Decentraland is known as the world's first decentralized virtual world, claims to be owned by its users. So without further ado, let's go straight into this and find out a bit more about what we're looking at here with Decentraland. So Decentraland, as mentioned, and they claim to be the first virtual world fully owned by its users. So this is basically something like back in the day when you used to play The Sims, having your sort of own little world that you could essentially control in some capacity, create your own avatar, put your own personality stamp on there, and that sort of thing. It also reminds me of a couple of other sort of gaming kind of virtual world platforms. Back in the day, probably for 12 to 15 years ago, I did actually have an account on Second Life, so it's quite similar to that as well in terms of its purchasing, which we'll go on to in a second. And it does relate to something similar that I will do another video on in the coming weeks, of a project called Network, and I would really like to showcase that a lot more in a few weeks' time. But back to the point on Decentraland. So in a nutshell, at the moment it's currently on browser format. I'm pretty sure they will bring it out into mobile, I'm sure, at some point, and some other platforms as well in the near future too. So what we're looking at here is basically a virtual world where you can create your own avatar, your own personality of how you want it to be. You can buy wearables within the game, so as you see some of the characters on the main page here as an example, but you can also sell as well. So just to put this in perspective in terms of the world, this is something that you can actually either buy elements of, like land or items, or you can also create them yourself and build them. We'll go into that in a second. I think I read somewhere the other day that the cheapest part of land is around about 7,000 mana tokens. So it's probably something around like $550, $600 at the sort of current price. So it gives you a bit of an indication as the kind of money that's being thrown around in this game so far. And as far as I'm aware, there's around 90,000 individual, what they call parcels of land available on a 16 by 16 meter format, and there's multiple kind of districts, similar to you have in the real world, of course, different regions that you can go and access or go and visit, go and see for yourself, whether you've got friends in the game or you've got properties in various areas. There's kind of almost an infinite spectrum of things that you can do in this game. Now, the reason why I want to bring up the point of MANA. So MANA is the token that you would buy on the exchange. And the good thing about this is if you're buying and selling things within the game, you can also transfer that across into arguably real world money or other cryptocurrencies, because you can transfer it back onto exchange and do what you would normally do. But as of January this year, in 2021, there was approximately 1.49 billion MANA tokens left. So according to CoinMarketCap, 68% of the current supply of 2.19 billion. And already in this period of time, 600 million MANA tokens have been burnt. So I just want to put that into perspective. When people buy things on the marketplace, which I've just got on the screen here as a few examples of some assets that you can buy, there is a 2.5% fee in terms of a MANA burning of that. But the MANA tokens also get burned, as you're buying things within the game. So eventually there will be scarcity, and I am really interested in some of the points of some of the white papers and the articles about how they're going to utilize inflation and things like this in the near future, just to ensure that perhaps there's not too much greed, there's not too many whales in the Decentraland platform that are going to almost abuse the system, if you like, and discourage a lot of people from potentially playing the game or entering their own sort of application to the game. So we just got to be wary of that in the future sometime. as these tokens get burned, and what they might plan to do in terms of perhaps regulation, or reducing the burn level, or trying to decrease it and slow it down a bit. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go along. So yeah, as we've touched upon, it's about creating your own individual avatar, your own unique person within the game. You can visit different lands, you can different regions, you can build your own properties, you can buy them, you can sell them, pretty much everything that you could do in the real world, but obviously in a kind of virtual capacity. So there's kind of areas of creativity here, which is really cool. This is, for example, the element of the building side of things, where you can either buy elements that are already created, or you can actually build your own structures. Very nice and simple layout here in terms of building what they call scenes, using various kind of floor tiles. It does remind me a lot of The Sims, actually. And then once you're obviously completed, you can put that on the marketplace, or obviously own it yourself. So there's lots of cool little things that you can do on there. Now the DAO, this is not to be confused with the DAO coin that you can see on the marketplace elsewhere. This basically stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. So it's essentially a partial ownership via the developers and everything. But we go back to their original point about being the first ever virtual world owned by its users. Well, actually the DAO, essentially the element of this, allows people to vote on how the world works. So basically allowing what wearables can and cannot be used, almost in like a voting system, or moderation of a game, if you like. Land policies, so determining price structures and things like this, and auctions, etc. So this is kind of like a bit of a crossover, isn't it, in regards to like the economics, regulations, or indeed like the governance of our real world. Almost like you can't quite get far away enough to become fully decentralized. There still has to be kind of like a moderation element to the game. But what I do like about that is certainly the interest of giving the users at least some kind of control, some kind of method of democracy to ensure things are kept clean and moderated and safe for all the users, etc. So there's some good and bad things about it, of course. And as well as that, I'm starting to see some really cool partnerships come into this. One of my favorite things that have popped up is one of my hero brands from back in the day, Atari, launching a decentralized casino within Decentraland. It's almost like Minecraft, isn't it? Where you have the ability to potentially kind of create your own worlds, but add some extra things on there that are quite unique. So I think that's really cool, certainly to take on board and realize that that's those kind of partnerships are going on. And also another one that came up, and this would probably entice me to join the game myself, to be honest. Ibiza's virtual amnesia dance floor coming to the game. Now that is right up my street. Let's put a bit of arming on and get on that virtual dance floor. That's something really cool. So it gives you a bit of an idea of the different variables of creativity that you can do with this game and this platform. So other points to make, obviously this is very much familiar with like the NFT side of things. So there's been a lot of artists out there putting their own wearables and pieces of art and things like that, allowing them to be available on the platforms and things. So keep an eye out for those kind of news announcements on Twitter and other social media platforms. But yeah, NFTs in general, this is what this game's about, really, isn't it? The tokenization and the wearables and things like this. It'd be really interesting to see, as other virtual worlds open up, whether they might allow cross compatibility and things like that to actually take your NFT across to those. Because at the end of the day, that's what NFTs are supposed to be about, the decentralized situation of the asset that you own, being able to own it physically, digitally, and take it wherever you want. So I'm really interested to see that pans out as well. On the other side as well, I just wanted to touch on a point as well about this game and in general. You can imagine in crypto in general how many jobs are being created for these kind of things, and it's an absolute benefit to the world. You may agree or not agree with the game or the principles of it or what it is. That's down to you. But I think at the end of the day, it is creating jobs. It's providing an opportunity for more creativity, more thought, allowing people to express themselves in different ways. So I think there's a lot of positives for sure with this game. I'm just very, very intrigued to see how these Decentraland and MANA pans out as we move forwards. So there's a few things to take on board there. Like I said, I think it's actually really interesting. It looks a lot quite a lot of fun. But I have mentioned as well, there's perhaps numerous other kind of platforms that are quite similar, or some existing games that are available at the moment on consoles and things that kind of are similar as well. So it's not a new concept, but I do think from the crypto NFT side of things, it is definitely different. And I do believe that their emphasis on the users owning the platform is going to be a good thing. And I just want to see in maybe 5-10 years time how much of that will stick, and whether things do transfer like they do in the real world, where control starts taking over and egos and things like this. So let's see what happens with that. But hopefully that's been a bit of a lowdown for you guys. I will do some update videos over the coming months as updates of the game come out and updates on MANA itself. I'll be really interested to see a next update on how many MANA tokens have been burnt in this period of time as well. That would be really interesting. See if that creates more scarcity, whether it emphasizes the price fluctuation in the market as well. I'm sure that has a big part of it. Yeah, we'll go into that a lot more over the coming months. But other than that, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe the channel, and please do leave some comments below. What do you think of Decentraland? Have you got the game yourself? Are you invested in the token? Are you invested in the game? Please, God, I hope you haven't spent too much money on there. But it'd be really interesting to see what you've got going in the game. So other than that, I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the moon. Thanks, guys.